What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Itz-Beez-Da, TrackStar, and welcome back to another dancehall video tutorial. So, another one that we are go over mastering. I have a track named Crop Dice. Just finish it, master it down. We have that in the FL Studio right now. So we have a mixed version of the track. If we hold on, I'll make a loop of this. So we have a mixed version. And I also have a mastered version of the track. Cool. But like I said, we are going to master it inside of Ozone again, and then we can compare the two different master and chain them, right? So inside FL Studio, this is the master and chain from the session. So we have a little bit of Ozone, we have the Excitator and the maximizer, but we also have tape machine, another maximizer from Waves. We have a bus compressor from Cytomic. This is just metering, so this is not really even important. And we also have the Fab Filter EQ. So 1 to 6 different pieces inside of my chain. So that's the setup inside of FL Studio. What I use for master. This is the exact chain what I use for master. It's same settings, everything. So we are gonna go in a Ozone now, the standalone, and then master it again. Then we'll drag it in a FL Studio, listen to it, compare it, and see how one sound against the other. Mastering is a very tedious thing, is a thing where you listen for small little changes, and like I said previously, I cannot teach you how to hear, and when I say teach you over here, like just hear things, like just critical listening, just listening for small little change, like maybe spread out the track and it get a little bit wider, like me can teach you how to hear that are just something where your ears have to get used to, you understand what I say? So you might watch the video and I'ma do it now, you say, oh yo, I don't really hear nothing, but your ears just have to get to that level there. You see me? So let's get started. So you have a couple of ways where we can get the track inside the Ozone. We can either go up to file and press import audio, or my preferred way, which is just for drag and drop. So we can drag and drop the file inside the Ozone like that. Boom. The difference for me, especially when I use Ozone versus FL Studio, is I can make like a perfect loop. Inside of Ozone, I have no idea of how I would be able to do that, but it is what it is. So Ozone gives me the ability to add third-party plugins. So if I go here, so boom, and come in plugin, we can add like the Pro Q, which I will use the Pro Q3 because it's my go-to EQ. So we can add third-party plugins. But for the sake of this video and using Ozone, this will be the only third-party plugin that me I gonna use. This and probably one Waves plugin, which is the tape machine, because the tape machine is a specific preset one we use. But Ozone also have a tape machine, so we'll try Ozone tape machine first, and if that works better, or just works similarly, I'm not going to use the Waves version, but I'm going to use the Pro Q3, absolutely 100%. So let's get started. So let's just create like, just like a full loop or something about the place, and then we'll just go through and, start the process. So let's get into it. So we have the track here, just the mixed version. So first thing we're going to do, EQ. So if we load up, we have 2 EQ inside of Ozone. So typically with me, when I EQ, when I master, the first what I do is me really just get rid of, stuff what we don't want. So we have 2 different views of the EQ. We can show the different stuff. So we'll switch this from analog to digital. And what changes when I go from analog to digital, let's show you. If you notice, like the digital, the curve is not as wide. So you can kind of play around with that and, see what you like. As far as the slope here, we want a high pass, and up here at 7, we want a low pass. As far as the slope go, we need to narrow that down, and we're going to do the same thing down here at 1. We need to narrow that down. Now, it don't have to be that narrow, you know what I mean? Typically, we like the 32 to 35 hertz range for kind of get rid of, some little low end rumble, little mud. This slope is kind of cool here. And then up at the top end, depending upon the plugin, I don't know how far. So Ozone go 20K. The Fab Filter EQ goes up to, I believe, 30K, I think. Let me see. So yeah, Fab Filter go up to 30K as far as the high shelf. So that's fine. So the 20K is cool. Humans can't hear above that anyway. So typically for me, we go 19,850. And that's just, dependent on the situation. So I'm going to show you exactly what I'm talking about. So sometimes I have presets when I try out. So if I go in a bank and go mastering, notice I have 31 to 22, I have 31 to 22.7, I have 35 to 19.85. So this is kind of the one on me at the right and now the 30, because we there up on this, we there 34 hertz, and we there, so basically this is what I just recreate. You understand what I say? So just get that out of the way. So boom, so if we play now, without so the thing was stick out to me, just doing that simple little changes where I get more clarity. The melody or melodies, the top end, the mid, the high mids and up, it open up more, isn't me? Because we get rid of stuff where I would have probably mud that and a fight that down here, about 34 and below. I can probably go higher, 35, 36, up to probably like 40, but not necessary. From that, my next plugin typically is always a bus compressor. So we can either use Ozone's Dynamics or we can use the vintage compressor. It's totally up to you. I am going to use the vintage compressor just to see the response I get and see if I like it back and forth. Typically we try to get, like about a good 3 dB, 4 dB of gain reduction, just to kind of, glue everything together and kind of make everything sound more cohesive, you see me? So we're going to set this mode to smooth, and then play and, dial in the compression, see what we like. Or turn off auto gain. When I like auto gain, I like do my own gain. Ratio, we are going to do 2 to 1. Attack, we are going to do 30. Release, we are going to do super fast. So if you notice right now, the thing where they get affected the most is the kick. We need to clean that up. So this, I believe, is a sidechain filter. So if I were to kind of move this up, so this is, yes, exactly what I think it is. So this is a sidechain filter, right? So basically now, at the same settings, you notice that the kick now trouble the compressor as much because it's very easy for your kick trigger the compressor. You know what I mean? Inside of FL Studio, in the chain, I have in the glue compressor. If you notice, I have the side chain down here. I high pass it all the way up to 138 hertz. Now, I don't know what the slope looks like for that, but I know with doing that, the kick does not trigger the compressor as much, which is basically what me I do with the compressor here in the Ozone, because if we go back to the side chain in here, and I don't believe we can turn it off, but if we bring it back all the way this way, you notice that the kick can take up all of the compression basically, and the kick can feel most of the compression. But when we side chain it, no, the kick get compressed, but it basically just kind of scale it back. No, this is the reason why I don't like to use auto gain. So let's turn on auto gain and see. So if we bypass this plugin, okay, so not gonna lie, it's pretty much the same as far as the auto gain. I'm still hear the compression, still hear like the glue with the track, but the auto gain is amazing. I definitely I hear that. So typically for me, I don't like use auto makeup gain because it's never accurate for whatever reason. Few plugins actually have it accurately, but most of the time it's not very accurate. When I start compress, the track just get loud for no reason. Basically, the more you compress, the more volume it add on top of what you already have, and it just sound like just very nasty. Like it's like if you take out a dB, it's only supposed to add back a dB, but a lot of plugins seemingly just add back whatever they want. So we have that set, we have the EQ set, we have the vintage compressor or the bus compression dialing. Typically for me, like I say, is a tape machine. Now, I am not sure how this will react. So my settings here, I always use this preset master in fat, tight, and open, and then we just go through and modify the settings inside of it. So right now we have the speed of 15, the formula 888. I don't know if them have a formula in a Ozone, but I know some can set the same speed. So that's what we are going to do. We're going to run with the same speed, but everything else we're going to just freelance and basically change out that. So we're going to go 15 IPS. We'll play around with 30 and see which one. We'll play with the chair and see which one sound better, but, it's just always good for just, mess around. And then as I can see, this is more of a straightforward thing, whereas the waves is modeled after something else and it have more options for you. So this bias knob is basically saying, where do you want more detail, or where you want to put more of the saturation, more of the harmonics, which we have a harmonics knob as well, but let's we get to that. So with the bias is basically is and as I can see, if you hover over it, it's affects the character of tape distortion by modifying frequency dependent non-linearity. But if you listen, let's forget all of the technical mumbo jumbo. We're dealing a straightforward business. It will affect the high or the low. If you go up, more low end, the track sound darker. You see me I say? But if you come down, more top end, less bass, the track sound brighter. So it's really just for you find a little bit of balance. Me kind of like the bias going -3 because I like the clarity of my thing. We can always add some low end emphasis, and we have other ways where we can bring in low end, right? As far as the drive go, basically it's just how much of the signal you want. And this is something else we kind of need to explain. So input drive, right? Basically it's the signal coming into the tape machine, not the signal going out. So how much you want to drive the tape, or how hot you want to enter the tape in a way. So it's basically like how much of this level you want to go in at the tape. Like I want to go, more than what coming in, or I just want the level coming at basically whatever it are coming in at, you see me? So that's all that means. So without, go in a little bit more and see what that cause. That's what I say. So it's like if you feel like I say you have too much signal come in, you can dial back, and lighten up the amount of tape distortion or tape saturation where you get. Me, I love distortion, I love saturation. So we're not gonna go too crazy, just like a 1.3 and listen to it. That's the important thing. You just have to listen. Once again, pay attention to the clarity. Listen to the hi-hats. Nice. So let's try 30 FPS. Okay, so the difference between 715 and 30. 15 is more even as far as the clarity. 30 is very clear, and then 7 is a little bit darker. So we're gonna run with 30. Now harmonics is very subtle. Not really hear nothing too crazy. I do about 4.8. Low emphasis. Remember when I say we can always add back the low end, this is what I mean. So we take out the bias and kind of shift it more towards the top end. We can add back a little bit of the low end while we take out. So we're going to go 3.88. Then bypass. Nice. And then we also can still, do high-end emphasis. But we have another way where we are going to get the high-end in this track. So we'll do 3.8 on the low-end emphasis, actually. And then 4.02. Cool. Now, Ozone has this really, really nice feature where we can gain match, right? So we can go boom. So if we bypass all of the plugins, we just are going to have the same volume level, but none of the processing, and that will really make you kind of hear what you do. So it's like night and day. Cool. So let's continue on. So after the tape machine, we go into the exciter. So now we are going, firstly we need to create 4 bands. Right, these bands will change every single time I use the plugin. It'll always be 4, but the bands will change. So if you look in here, now we're not going to copy the settings, we're just going to copy the frequencies. So inside of this version of the exciter, we modify 185, 1.2, and 6. So if we go back to this, all you have to do is just click right here, 185, hover right around the bottom of the line, 1.2. You can put a K, boom, and then here, just put 6K. So we have the same frequency ranges, but we don't have the same values. So now, when I use the exciter, my go-to for the top end is retro, and this is why. Retro is the, oh my God. So this is the top end of the track. Now, listen to when I add retro. Nothing yet. Let's go 3.6. Without. Quiet. Not too energetic. It just hi-hat them just sparkle. As far as the second band here, I typically go for tape. The amount varies. We start at 3 and you just increase. Listen, and then you scale it back. And you go back and forth. Nice. This low mid here typically match the high mid. It doesn't always happen like that, but like I say, you just dial in your settings and you go ahead and listen and change accordingly. So if you change this from tape to retro, distortion. So you know so that won't work. But maybe sometime you want that, so what you would do? Turn down the amount. But even at 0.3, it's still a distort, so that just to make you know, say, yo, it's not the track for that. You know, but you also can just drop the mix, you know? So there's a lot of ways around it. Typically, my mix stays at 100%. If you go to analog, notice it clear up. If you bypass, yeah, I'm like analog. Listen to the strings. Nice. And lastly, we have the bass. Turn on oversampling. For me, I always do it. It just kind of adds a little bit of more clarity. I'm only turn it on when we get down to the bass portion of the track. So it's affecting everything. Only I turn it on. No. So now if we go to the bass, typically I like my bass on analog, and just like the previous thing, I typically start about 0.7 and then work my way up. So this is the bass by itself. So if we change it from analog to retro, you know, similar to what was happening. So now let's matter of fact, let's do this. So let's put this at 2.6. So we are here distortion. So if we take this out as solo, you're not hearing the distortion. You know what I mean? So it's not a situation where just because I hear it here means that it will sound like shit in the actual track. So you have to kind of keep that in mind. Be careful about that. You understand what I say? So we go change this from retro door to tape. This is typically the one on me like, because it's clean. Nice. And we'll go back into the track and we go bypass. Amazing. If you turn off the Excitator alone, them hi-hats just stick out. Amazing. Continuing on from that, we'll go into the first of two limiters. So we are going to use the vintage limiter first, and then we are going to end with the maximizer. So the point of this is, and I'll give you a quick audio demo as well so you can hear exactly what I'm talking about. Now, this is where we are currently, right? 4 plugins in, and then we have the last 2. This is the limiter I use in FL. Now, what this does, and we don't use it with the mix version. So what this do, it make the kick knock hard. You know what I mean? It really increased the kick and bass response. It's just something that's amazing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn down me because I don't want to get too much louder and play, make on the ear while go on. So basically, if I play this now, this are without the limiter, right? That's just everything else. turn on this. No, sorry about that. This I play right now with nothing upon the master, Jaja. So this is, as you can hear it louder, you know, without this limiter on. This is just the track. Listen to the kick and bass. 1, 2, 3. Even the snare. Just something else, you understand? So basically that's what that is there for. So we are trying to replicate that now in an Ozone. So let's go. So I'll set the ceiling to 0.1. Set the mode to modern. I'll make sure to see this release very fast. Let's try analog. Yeah, so that's too slow. The release is too slow in the analog. Let's try tube. Same thing, too slow. Just back to modern. Cool. Close. It's not exactly like the Waves plugin, but you know they are different, you know, and this is totally workable. It's not too far off. But them operate different. This is a multi-band plugin here where we can manipulate different bands individually. As you can see, we have different settings around the area, versus the Ozone version. You know, it's vintage, so can't really do too much to it. But it sounds perfectly fine. And lastly, we're going to go into the maximizer now. This is the easiest process in this whole thing. So turn on true peak, set the ceiling to 0.3. We're going to come to IRC4. Now these modes are basically the algorithms and how the compressor are going to react, you know, once it gets close to your ceiling and your threshold. And, you know, so it kind of all tie up that like a section over here. So if you replicate the settings from the FL Studio version of the Ozone Maximizer, 1.7, 0.1, 1.7, 49, 4, 12. That's basically the settings there. Now, like I said, these modes are different algorithms. So typically for me, the ones I use the most is the transient, modern IRC4 transient or IRC3 clipping or crisp. You know, this is a situation where we're going to use clipping because we're going to kind of drive this a little bit harder. So the settings is just a base, we're going to change them. listen to the bass response. Nice. So without everything on, and with everything, cool. So I'll go through and master down everything. Well, not master down, but export everything. So let's go ahead and add small feed at the front, small feed at the back, and file. Firstly, let's save the project. I'll set the path to my desktop, TBF, crop dash Riddim, and let's press copy. We'll make a new folder, crop dice, mastering, session. Boom. Press OK. And then crop dice as the name. Save. Boom. So now if we go in an Ozone, we can just go File, or press Control and E if you export the audio files. Now, unlike FL Studio, this does not give me the option to export, a wave and the MP3 at the same time. So what we are going to do is we are going to just export, crop dice Riddim right here. And we'll type in a brackets Ozone master. Boom. Wave file. Yep. Part is already set, and we'll go. Actually, let's change the part. So we'll go crop dice master and crop dice Riddim. Press OK. Sample rate 44.1, perfect. Bit rate 16-bit, perfect. Enable data and press OK. And this should be a very quick export process as opposed to like FL Studio when you export and it take a while, because of course you only work with a wave file in this situation here. You're not working with a bag of tracks and VSTs and things that have to line up and all of that. You just work with a simple single file. So, make that happen. Get it out of the way. We're going to drag it into FL Studio once it is done and compare the two and see which one is better. But either way, they're both going to be good because it's not like some shabby little software where I use quality tools, so the quality will be there. So it's dragging this. Now if you look at the healthiness of the wave file, the Ozone versus mine from FL Studio, we need to get rid of this little delay thing at the front here so we can do proper comparison. So mine from FL Studio Ozone. If you notice, the kick knock even harder in the Ozone master. Sound fantastic. And honestly, I like the Ozone Master a lot more. I don't know something about that kick. They just knock. I love it. Yeah, something about the kick just a knock, and I love it, man. And the Ozone one seems to have just that little bit more of clarity in there, as me can't complain about it. You know, hopefully you're gonna learn something from the video. Like I said, either way is fine. Will I be mastering all my rhythms in Ozone? No, I don't use Ozone to master my rhythms. Just a give a contrast between the FL Studio process and the standalone process. So in the next video like this one, I'm gonna continue to do the whole mastering thing. I'm gonna do IK Multimedia's T-Rocks standalone, which is another good mastering application. It's a standalone application similar to Ozone as well, but this is an application that deals more with the vintage side of the music. So a lot of the tools inside of here is, you know, vintage. Of course, you know, have the SSL bus compressor here, and like Neve style EQs. Now this is a SSL style EQ, you know, Pultec EQs and stuff. I had a project come out a few years ago that I mastered every single thing inside of T-Rocks. So definitely we'll take a look at this as well, just for kind of, I want to expose you to all of the software out there. So in the future for that though. So like I say, hopefully you learned something from the video. Until next time, it's your boy Itz-Beez-Da, the TrackStar. Peace.